to Heel's Kitchen. I'm Tracy in my actual kitchen. We are gonna be making something really fun today. This impresses a lot of people, but there's only a few ingredients, so you don't have to tell anybody that it's not that hard. It is pistachio pesto. It sounds kind of odd because when you think of pestos a lot, you think of basil, but we're really mixing it up with something that's full of flavor and really, really fresh. In fact, the hardest part about this whole thing is just making sure you don't overcook the noodles. I like to use something like a little bolder that can stand up to the flavor, not like a spaghetti noodle, it's a little thin. So I'm actually using linguini. I've used fettuccini before with this as well, but just so like the noodle can hold up a little bit more. Pop it in boiling water. You're gonna let it go until it's al dente, usually about 9 to 10 minutes. Remember with pasta, it continues to cook after you take it out of the water. So just don't let it go until it's fully done in the water. And in fact, while this is boiling, we can make the pesto, and it's just that easy. All right, you get your food processor out, and you're gonna start with 1.5 cups of shelled pistachios. Pop them right in there. 2 Roma tomatoes, and I like Roma tomatoes the best because I think they're a little firmer and they can kind of hold up to and kind of keep some shape to them and not just turn into mush. I do like to give these a little bit of a rough chop before I put them into the food processor so they break up more evenly. I've made this as like a side dish before, as like a main dish, and that's how I'm gonna present it today. I've added chicken to it before. 2 cloves of garlic, because we all getting close with some garlic, right? Sit real close to people. I'm gonna kind of do the same thing with these. I'm gonna give them a nice little smash before I put them into the food processor so they kind of cut up evenly too. All right, and a bunch of mint. That's kind of the surprise ingredient with this, right? I grow mint. It's so easy. I mean, you practically can't kill it. It's so easy to grow. Grow it in a pot though, because it definitely takes over. And that really brightens everything up. I'm gonna give it a quick rough chop before I put the Parmesan in, just to kind of get this all blended before the cheese goes in. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is add the Parmesan cheese. So anytime a recipe calls for like a handful of cheese, I'm like, by that you mean as much as you can shove in there, right? Like, I mean, why not? All right. This is ultimately your pesto. All right, you guys, so that is the pesto to begin with. You want it to have this really gritty texture, and it's okay if it looks dry because we're gonna add the oil at the end. And the reason is if you add the oil while you're in the food processor, you're gonna make peanut butter, which is not good. You want pesto to be a little bit coarse, still hold up all of its flavors. You can kind of see in this, you can still pick out the pistachios, the chunks of tomato. I can smell the mint and the garlic. The pasta's doing great, it's still cooking. What you don't want to do with this, you guys, is make this in advance. This is not one of those things that you can make a couple hours before people get there. You do have to make it while the pasta is cooking because it just gets kind of mushy from all the flavors. And the last thing you do is add enough olive oil just to moisten it. All right, I just checked on the pasta. It is perfect, nice and al dente, because again, it's gonna continue to cook later. The last thing I'm gonna do, just to taste, is add some kosher salt, some pepper, and because we're gonna get a little heat in there, red pepper flakes. So with dried spices, what I like to do is pour them in your hand before you put them into anything, and they've been dried, right? And they're sitting in your cabinet, and your counter. You gotta wake them up a little bit, so you kinda gotta massage your spices. Get a little friendly with your spices. Make it buy you a drink first. Stir it all in. And then we just got to mix it in together. All right. You want to save some of your pasta water anytime you're like mixing in sauces or any kind of pesto with your pasta, because that starchy water, if you need extra, is going to help it all kind of blend together. Pop it on a nice big dish. If you don't have one of these, just throw it in a bowl. You can mix it up in there. And all you have to do is work this in to the hot pasta. You can always add a little more oil. It's kind of like a work in progress once this gets going. You really do have to go by sight. All right, so it does feel a little bit dry, like it needs some of the water. So just reach over. You don't want to add cold water. You really do want to save the starchy water you cook the pasta in. It's pretty well incorporated, but you can see it looks, you know, looks kind of tore up a little bit. So here's how I plate this up to make sure it looks really pretty. Any kind of bowl you have, if you have pasta bowls, those are really nice too. Just make a nice big scoop. Who's ready to carve up a little bit? Get in there. So, in serving it up too, I love, love, love to present something on the plate that tells people what kind of flavor they're gonna have, so I always drop a little mint leaf right on top. I think you're gonna really like this, guys. You're gonna find this recipe at kygo.com. You can post comments below, ask questions below. I'll always hit you back with answers. But here it is, your pistachio pesto pasta on this week's edition of Hill's Kitchen. Thank you so much for joining me. Have fun, happy eating.